you're watching this very special webinar on Beyond the Curve, transitioning to a new normal post-COVID-19 on Money Control, and I'm your host, Sakshi Batra. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic and the following lockdowns have shaken the business landscape in the country. Institutions are grappling with the emerging reality that we have to live with in the novel coronavirus times. And this virus is not going away from our lives anytime soon. And now, as the economy really crawls back, manufacturing, retail, and services open their shutters, which were down for about 75 to 80 days. It is now time that we discuss how businesses now need to reimagine and rebuild their workplaces. An eminent panel of experts joins us today to share with us insights on not just how businesses will adapt and adjust, but in fact, how can they really rule the new normal? We have with us today Ms. Daisy Chitilapilli, MD, Digital Transformation Office, Cisco India and SARC. We also have with us Mr. Vinod Kumar, President, India SME Forum. We're also joined by Colonel Suhail Zaidi, Head of CII Center for Digital Transformation. Also with us today is Mr. Ramesh Lakshmi Narayanan, President and CTIO of CRISIL. And we also have with us Mr. Rashi Sikka, Director SMB from Lenovo. Welcome everyone. Appreciate you joining in on this very special webinar. And it will be really interesting to hear from each one of you as to what do you think the next steps should be that individuals, businesses, and institutions must follow to tide over the current crisis. So without much further ado, let's jump right into the topic, and let me begin with the lady first. Daisy, tech companies such as yours are doing a lot right now. What are some of the impactful initiatives that you have taken internally and otherwise to really help battle COVID-19?
So internally for Cisco, obviously, employee safety was the first concern, right? Like it was for everyone around us. So even as of now, we started a work from home, mass scale rollout of a work from home conversation guideline in the middle of March. And almost 80 plus days into the lockdown, we are still in work from home. About 98% of our people are working from home worldwide at this point in time. Only 1 to 2% business critical people who physically have to be in office because they're manning some of the critical infrastructures in the countries where they're serving. They are at work. They are out of their homes and their workplace. And of course, during the course of managing the morale of our employees who are working from home, our leadership, it's also a time for very bold leadership, for very empathetic leadership. So our leaders, including our CEO and all the way down to our lowest level leaders, are doing check-ins. There are many forums for employees to express themselves over and above our pre-COVID frequency of interaction with employees, and so on. Coming back to the impact that we have as a tech company in the country and particularly in India, I think work from home is definitely a technology-centric conversation. So as of April, we have done incredible things in terms of making virtual meetings, almost 10 million plus meetings in the enterprise with almost 58 million participants. We've helped enterprises move almost 500,000 people to work from home, almost overnight in many cases, middle of March. We've actually helped because the threat attack surface has increased during that period. We've also had almost 3,000 plus enterprises signing on for new security solutions which extend to the home or extend beyond the enterprise. So these are all data points in the ways in which we have come to the fore. Of course, to battle the crisis itself, we are working with both states and central government also in terms of deploying our tech very seamlessly to manage and monitor everything from training of people during the pandemic to ICU monitoring to telehealth and mobile citizen applications. So there's a whole body of work, allowing students to work from, study online from home. So there's a bunch of other things on the social side that the technology is enabling. The cost there.
Absolutely. So a whole lot of initiatives taken by tech companies during the pandemic to ensure that seamless work continues to happen. while people are working remotely. Mr. Ramesh Lakshminarayanan, if I could come to you next. Well, the real impact of COVID-19 could actually take really months to accurately put down, maybe even years. What are some of the biggest challenges that you foresee for businesses as they really step into the post-COVID world?
Actually, it's been a like now 90 days plus. Again, it's not one fit all kind of reaction, right? I mean, every single group has reacted separately. The large corporate groups, the bigger multinationals, have probably adapted far faster. The ability to go, close to 100% from work from home has been relatively easy. I wouldn't say still easy, but yeah, within the first 10-15 days, they were able to adjust. Uh, and that's been a good, I think readjustment. Even the IT services company over a period of time learned to kind of, like we have businesses in that domain. We've been able to nicely navigate where even the client work is now pretty much being done from home, so not too much of challenge. Uh, the sector where we again have seen, I wouldn't say challenges, but I think clearly, more to do is on the SMB side. We've had situations where we covered the SMB sector as well. We have had situations where accounting packages, not being online on cloud, people having to kind of not able to even basically access their books. Connectivity in broadband connectivity has been a big bugbear across the board, and it's not just for small enterprises, but even for large enterprises. Suddenly, the focus is shifted. The home networks are as crucial as the office networks. So everybody has to refocus in the way the home networks are looked at today. So that's been a big challenge, in terms of just ensuring employee by employee, ensuring that each one of them gets onto it. Again, sectorally, it's been a little different. As I said, some of the again, it's again differed from city to city. Cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, we've seen, I would say, very easy adoption of the broadband. But in some of our folks, a lot of large number of employees have also moved to rural areas, to semi-urban areas, to smaller cities because they come from there. They have to vacate their homes, give out the PG rentals, and that's been another very interesting stuff that's come out. So the rural connectivity has again been a challenge. Power
Hmm.
situations, UPS situations. So it's been a mixed bag, and these are some new normals, right? I mean, even things like cloud desktop, uh,
Yeah.
you know, we've seen a very good resurgence on that front. But I think practically connectivity, and cloud adoption would be the drivers, if you ask me, in a very simplified way as we go along across the sectors.
Right, absolutely. Mr. Kumar, I'd come to you next. Just like how Ramesh sir also pointed out, we are going to be living with the virus for a long time, and work and workplaces both have transformed completely in the last 75 to 90 days. Do you think businesses need to be faster, more agile, and is digitalization the only answer to succeed in the post-COVID world, especially when we talk about areas which are not metro cities where perhaps the broadband connections are much faster, just like how Ramesh pointed out?
Well, Sakshi, there are two or three angles to this. Let me share with you my experience over the last 85 or 90 days. In the first 10 days, there was a mad scramble for laptops because not many people had, a lot of employees who were having equipment at home to access company, I would say, systems. And that's when people realize that, okay, now we need to have everything like of this on the cloud. We don't need to have systems sitting in our office which we can't access from anywhere. Forget me or the owner, anybody else cannot access. So that is what happened in the first 10 days. After that, we've had a lot of issues. We had to increase our call strength, center strength from 6 to 18. The number of calls that came in, the number of, I would say, reach outs that people did. Uh, Till today, we must have handled close to 47,000 calls from people in various situations, right from distress situations to people having material, especially essential services, not being able to offer them to customers, people having, for example, in the, I would say housekeeping space, a lot of people that want to actually offer security services, housekeeping services, sanitization services, and all that, but unable to send people out. And then came the other big issue which happened, wherein you had everybody rush out from cities to go back to their hometowns, which is now called the migrant crisis. We visualized all this. We knew that all this would happen. And we were very clear that from day one, when we set out, we said that we need to get everybody. We've been talking about digital transformation for the last 2 years with our SME members on various fronts, whether it's, imbibing cloud-based applications, or looking at infrastructure which you don't have to pay for at the upfront and use as a service. So a lot of things we've been talking about. But now, when we actually were in the brink of this, the first 10 days, when people realized things are not going to work out, so a lot of calls we have taken primarily for people who wanted to know what next to do. How do they get hold of laptops? How do they get hold of softwares? What are the softwares that we are recommending? So we set up a crack team, and that team was actually putting together all the possible varieties of applications that you have available, and we've dished out all of that. But with a stern warning that, just don't go by, okay, this is the number of people. Test before you buy. Don't just go out and buy. Most of these applications are available for testing. So go out and look at what's available, look at what you can do with it, and then whether it fits your requirement, and then go ahead and buy. So my feeling is, over the next I would say 6-7 months, a lot of the progressive SMEs in India are going to undergo this digital transformation, which is somewhat forced. With the Ministry of MSME, we've been talking about digital transformation and the MSME becoming digitally aware for the last 3 years. But now I think this is the right time wherein all of that is actually going to happen. You'll have people which will get into ERPs, which are cloud-based. You'll have people, even work from home. I have queries which we've received from members on how are you handling timesheets, your employees. We don't know whether they're actually working or not. So we've been helping all sorts of people. But let me tell you, the Indian SME sector is very, very, very resilient. Entrepreneurs are on their own. They take their own risk. They come into business primarily for, a vision that they have or a goal that they have. And with that, we've undergone a lot of turmoil over a lot of times in the last 6-7 years or 8 years. We first started with the situation when markets crashed in 2008, 2009. Thereafter, we were faced with demonetization, which is again a big cash puller. So we learned some lessons there. So this again is going to be a big lesson for us to have, I would say, seamless control over our data, our customer data, our data from our production line, everything. And that is what is going to be the defining moment for an SME. He'll be able to do all that and move into the next era, or he'll be able to not able to do that and stay back in this era.
Absolutely. So I'll come to you, Colonel Zaidi, next, and I'll take a step forward. We all have been talking about so far about the protocols that each one of us in the organizations that you guys have taken, also new initiatives that you have taken to battle the coronavirus pandemic, to ensure seamless work really happens from even at home and remotely, wherever your digital workforce is. Going forward, what role, in your view, will technology really play in helping us live with the virus, whether it is with prevention or maybe contact tracing? Where else can technology really help us deal better with the virus?
Sakshi, before I go into that, I'll just try to talk about digital transformation. There is I would just like to clarify that there's a difference between digitalization and digital transformation. Just for the understanding of our viewers, I'd just like to bring out that digitization and digital transformation could be considered, digitization and digitalization digitization could be considered as the foundation for digital transformation. So digitization is basically using of technologies which are focused inwards, and they are generally controlled by the CIOs of the organization, whereas digital transformation is a much bigger function which is controlled by the senior people, the CEOs of the organization. Their involvement is involved because it is more of a business transformation based on technology. Now, coming back to your question, how technology will help. See, technology has to be used very, very cautiously. Uh, I would like to bring out here, pre-COVID, we had this complaint sort of a thing coming from large number of our members saying that the technology providers commit something, the salespeople of the technology providers commit something, and once they buy the product, the solutions or the product team which deliver the product does not match what has been committed. Or in most of the cases, they do buy things which are much more than what they actually needed. Now, COVID has proved that existing technology was used much more efficiently by the organizations to achieve what they wanted to. So in this process, now if we see the current businesses are in a linear fashion designed, especially in the MSME, wherein you have a product or a services which is in a raw form, you do some work on it, you if it is a service, you work on it, if it is a product, it's manufacturing, some value addition is done on it, and then it is sold at a price which is slightly more than what you have already invested on it, and that is your profit. The problem in this model is that if there is a leak somewhere in between, there's a halt somewhere in between in any of the processes, your entire business stops. And probably this is what has happened in this COVID time. So technology can help distributing these things. Now by distribution, I mean that entire distribution has to be organization wide. It has to be the decision making, the authority, and it is not just geography that I'm talking of. It is even the skills that need to be distributed. So technology does have a clear mandate which has to be implemented by all the organization, but with a word of caution here that one should not just go for technology which is available. You have to actually identify the need, what you need the technology for. And as was rightly brought out by the previous speaker here, that technology just should not be bought like anything. It has to be tested first. Once it is tested, utilized, and then we should go for it. For example, the desktop as a service, workspace as a service, these are good options, but one should realize whether do they actually need it or not. They shouldn't go just for the heck of it.
Absolutely. I'd like Ashish to come in here. Actually, he's from Lenovo and he'll be able to help us understand how crucial it is for organizations to have a complete understanding of the technology that they already have. And just like how most of the speakers over here are talking about, that the pre-existing technology was perhaps used more efficiently in the last 75, 80 days of the pandemic, and it was just lying perhaps not fully used. So the corona crisis has actually propelled new technology across all our aspects of life, from aiding remote working to adapting to e-learning tools. So help us really understand, how is technology bridging the gap between organizations, employees, by boosting work productivity remotely?
So a lot has changed over last 90 days. I think, as all the panelists have been saying, there has been dramatic change from physical environment to a virtual environment. What has driven this change has obviously been the COVID pandemic. But before this also, we were taking, organizations was taking baby steps to basically digitally transform themselves. And what has done, it has just accelerated that process. And what could have taken maybe 2 to 3 years basically has been done in last 80, 90 days. And obviously many organizations are looking at doing drastic things, investing in technology, but not over next 60 to 90 days as well. We have seen new business models also emerge out of this pandemic. Example, telehealth is something that one of the panelists mentioned, something which both doctors and patients wouldn't have considered so much in India around 3 to 4 months back. Now, virtual consultations are something which everyone is used to on that. Similarly, we saw many business models, the online delivery, food apps, transforming their business model and looking at providing groceries and other essentials to basically retain customers, to grow customers. So there has been a dramatic change in how we interact. The other change, one of the biggest changes which have been there over this time has been on the e-learning side. The schools, there are like, because of the schools being shut down because of COVID, there are close to 300 million students who are at home today. And you don't want them to sit idle. You want them to utilize this time. So that's why the e-learning platforms are just booming at the moment. Lenovo has launched a platform called Smarter Ed. It's an online free platform where we match the students to the teachers. It uses an algorithm to do that, and it basically, our vision is to use it to bridge the urban-rural divide and try and take care of the students' need. Today, the number of students really outnumber the number of teachers who are available. So there are various use cases which the technology can be put forward to. Like we personally giving you an example of Lenovo, our company itself. We are a laptop company, so when this entire COVID thing happened, for all our sales team, for all our operations team, our supply chain team, actually it was not very difficult to transition. We had all the hardware, all the software to transition from working from office to working from home. So yeah, technology has played a big role in doing that, and I think it's just the COVID has accelerated what we were going through otherwise.
Absolutely. Daisy, I'd like to take your word next. COVID-19 has really accelerated digital transformation in businesses across scales, across sectors, like we've been talking about. Share with us the top trends which you are observing as your clients also try to battle the virus. How have your daily conversations, operations really altered in this time? And what is the way forward from here?
So, Sakshi, I completely agree with, I think, the comment that Colonel Zaidi made, right? Saying that digital transformation without people or culture transformation in the organization and process transformation is a recipe for disaster. So, technology, I've always said, is probably the easiest piece to figure out. And yes, in this crisis, as you know, for enterprises, it's more about repurposing what they have. And for SMBs, to the point that Mr. Kumar made, most companies, including ours, have put out 90-day or more try and buy kind of offers for people who are embracing it the first time, right? Because they really need to know whether the promise of the product is what works for them. And that's something right off the bat I wanted to clarify, since I'm conscious of the audience of this webinar. But I just want to look forward a little bit, right? Because I think COVID-19 has made us work, live, play, and learn in new ways. And the question is really how much of this will continue, and maybe in the business world. So I think this whole trend about can we work remotely, do our business online or virtually, that is here to stay, right? So there will be an increased acceptance for blending a physical world of business and an online or a virtual world of business. And some sectors like health and so on had a earlier adoption for it. Of course, much accelerated during this time. But there are entire new spaces. If you look at the space of fitness, fitness was very much a physical industry before COVID. It is unlikely to remain that way post-COVID, whenever post-COVID happens, right? So there is clearly some industries which are shifting in this, making the shift during this crisis to becoming both a physical and a virtual business. So the brick and mortar plus the online model of businesses will be here to stay. And what that means is the products and services that companies offer, right? I'm not just saying from a technology standpoint, just that our customers, the way they service their customers, what kind of products they will offer, what kind of services they will offer, that will change. The business models, I think one of the previous speakers, Mr. Sikka, spoke about it. Business models will change. For example, we're already saying Swiggy, which for so many years of existence had only delivered food, is now also promising to deliver groceries, right? Uber and Ola probably have to rethink their pool model because people have suddenly become conscious of hygiene, and their trust in public spaces, especially enclosed public spaces, is going down. Elevator companies will think about contactless, voice activated elevators, perhaps, right? So these are all things which are still, we have not seen the end stage of this evolution. What I like as a technologist is that technology will be core to all of this. I think Mr. Kumar mentioned the uptake for cloud delivered, scalable, secure, easy to use technology is certainly very high. It cuts across whether you're an SMB or an enterprise, right? This is really the awakening moment for cloud delivered technology. But there are many new technologies which will go from like AI, like IoT, like robotics, which will make the leap from being incubation to mainstream during this time. But I think at the core of all of this is that businesses have to have this characteristic of wanting to disrupt themselves in a bid to emerge stronger from the crisis. But I have no doubt technology will certainly be one of the pillars that enable businesses to do that.
Right. Mr. Kumar, I'd ask you to also add to what Daisy has just pointed out. She did, also take a cue from what you pointed out, the challenges and the emerging need of digital adoption for all the SMEs across sector. So if you could just also, point out if there is a dire need for SMEs to really rethink business models. Is phygital, that is fusing physical and digital together, the way forward from here on as they restart their businesses, as we move into the unlock 2.0 phase also very soon?
See, there have been two things that have happened in the past, and which I am very aware of, and I think most progressive SMEs in India are aware of. The first thing is, we were talking last year about Industry 4.0, where we were just talking about how do you connect everything that you are doing, whether you're a machine, whether you're people on the front, the entire cycle of production, delivery, customer service into one big, I would say, ecosystem, which primarily would deliver value to not just the entrepreneur, but also to the investor, and also to the customer, also to the employee, and everybody else associated with this entire enterprise. Now, today's situation is precisely that, wherein you're talking about the entrepreneur does not want to go to the factory because of various reasons, or he goes and he wants to come back quickly, and he wants to monitor everything. And that is the situation with every entrepreneur. Now, if you ask me, businesses today, why are they shutting down? Why are they perishing? Very simple reason. You have a new kid off the block, maybe an engineering student, or maybe not even a student. Let us say, for example, because entrepreneurship, there's no bounds. You don't need to be an MBA or an engineer to basically be an entrepreneur. So all you need to do is have that passion, have a capability to take some risk, and you want to basically come into business and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. All that you need to do today to compete with an existing SME is put into place a good process, put into place a good CRM, a mechanism for your customer, and you can beat the guy who's been in business for 20 years. So if anybody has to survive today in this current scenario, they will need to rethink what Colonel Zaidi was talking about, not just digitization. They will need to look at how do they transform their business, which can also enable them to the second very important thing that I hold, which is very important for the Indian SME. Have an export outlook. Don't just be looking at, if you're based in Bombay, that I'm going to sell my product in Bombay and maybe in Navi Mumbai and maybe in Thana and Belapur, and that's it. Look at how you can sell your product to any other part of the world. And for that, you need digital transformation. And not only, exports, I would say, in services, we've consistently seen year-on-year increases. I mean, just in the last 3-4 months, it's been a little ebb for the industry, the services industry. But otherwise, we've seen growth year-on-year. And we've been constantly talking about Indian services, going out there and becoming the #1 country in the world for actually offering services to anybody else. So those are the opportunities, and that is what we will need digital transformation for.
Right. We'll talk a little bit more about digital transformation also with Colonel Zaidi in a bit. But Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan, I want to come to you next. And I want to take a cue from what Daisy pointed out right in the beginning. We know that these are the times of gloom, and I want to understand how should you as leaders keep the digital workforce inspired on a daily basis? Also, do you think as we get back to work, despite the still prevalent infection scare, the leadership quotient will have to perhaps change? Essential skill sets would perhaps need to have more empathy and compassion towards employees as we move into the post-COVID world.
No, I think absolutely, Sakshi, because the whole ecosystem has changed. I mean, just take a simple example today. In last 90 days, I can tell you that across my organization, every single leader has been forced to do a daily call just to take a health update. I mean, something like this we wouldn't have even done. I mean, just the fact that the discipline and the rigor that needs to be done, to get this. I mean, in office it's very easy. Even if someone is not well, you will just figure out, through an informal chat. Even if you're, doing that empathetically, you have the opportunity to do that. But here it's a drill. So the whole system. In fact, if you ask a lot of large enterprises today, Sakshi, they will tell you that the discipline and the productivity has significantly gone up, post the COVID, adoption of digitization in that sense. Today people are putting a lot of work. In fact, we have challenges on the digital fatigue side, which people are not. I know it's a little contract topic, but that's the reality. I mean, some of the large corporates, people are working 10 hours, 12 hours all day on calls consistently, 20 minutes of lunch break, and then again you're on to calls. So there is a very different ecosystem playing out. So in terms of how do you build team bonding, how do you look at fun in in your teams, how do you get motivational aspects addressed. Stress is a very big factor. In fact, a lot of people are not talking about, but a lot of us are seeing a lot of stress points coming. I mean, in fact, just the fact that infections are there in the family, in the neighborhoods. So many of those things are changing, and the leadership has to scale up to this. I don't think forget the digital part of it. It's got nothing to do with digital, but just plain human empathy and the way we have looked at things. I think fundamentally it's changed today. You need to be very, very, very bothered about what your employees are doing, how they are doing, how their families are doing. It's a very different ecosystem. Coming back, I think the migration back to office, return to office is going to be even more difficult, actually. From it was easy for us to it was a 1-0 situation. So clearly, everybody rallied around. So it was like a crisis. So just get on and get it done. That was the way the leaderships went about it. Now the situation is very different. Different cities in different kind of modes, different thought processes. Business streams themselves have a different model. Like some businesses want to open up and move fast. Some of them don't want to. So a lot of organizations are thinking permanent work from home. But what is the right ratio? 60, 40, 70, 30, 75, 25. Who decides that? How do you roster? How do you mix up the teams? How do you keep the social distancing aspects in play? At the same time, productivity should not drop, because 1-0 was a different productivity. Very easy to pick up productivity when everybody is in a digital mode. So all of these are very, very interesting changes that are panning out. And I think the whole transformation to digital to my mind, will be a very slow process. It's not going to be a fast process, because we will have to adopt to the tools in a different way. Like someone said, AI, ML technologies, AR, VR technologies, some of them would play out. I mean, I'm quite sure that this will play out as we go along, because the experience is changing today. I mean, even just putting a good background behind is a better option than actually today, doing the home options, right? A lot of people stay in small rooms, people coming in the background, all of those issues are coming through. So a lot of these kind of issues, the digital tools that we are making for the next 2 years or next 3 years are going to be very different. So that's one point where I would diverge. I think while we have used the existing digital tools very well, But our looking into the new set of tools has to be also very balanced. We have to look at future and enable them, because this is not sustainable over a period of time. People will get fatigued over a period of time. So I hope that answers the question.
Right. Ashish, could you also come in on the technology bit over here, just like how panelists are talking about also the existing technologies and the technologies that we are looking at. Now, most of the panelists talked about how even SMBs will have to, sooner or later adopt to cloud, AI, Internet of Things, and even contactless technology. Will that become increasingly more relevant now for smaller businesses also to remain relevant?
Sakshi, it would be there, because one of the big changes which would be there, which is what the panelists have been pointing towards, is how we work in office. There would be a big change from physical space to a virtual space, and it would not be an either or situation. It would become a blend. It would be a blend of physical space and virtual space to happen. So there would be people in office, there would be people at home, and how do you make sure that they are working together? The physical space will totally change. Earlier, you would be happy to have a meeting in a conference room with 8 or 10 people. It's not going to happen any longer. You can maximum maybe put with physical distancing and everything, maybe 4 to 5 people in a big conference room while observing social distancing. So you would need more and more collaboration tools to do this. You would then, when we look at how to motivate teams, like you rightly pointed out, people are there in various places. Somebody is staying alone at home. Somebody's family is away because the of the lockdown. They have stuck in different situations. How do you talk to them? How do you keep them motivated? How do you encourage them on a daily basis? So all of those things would change. AI is something which has been underused in the SMBs, not only in India but mostly around the world. So AI will play a big physical role, a big role in this. What do you want AI to do? You basically want AI to do tasks which are repetitive in nature, and you want to use your workforce to do tasks which are higher up the value chain. Example: can first level service calls be addressed by AI, chatbots, chat robot, and you can use your workforce to try and address more complicated calls where customers are not able to find the solution after talking to AI. So there would be different things which would change totally. And if SMBs don't rethink the business models, as it was pointed out during this panel discussion, they are in this thing where they might be booted out of business. A new startup can come up, can relook at the business model, build up something grounds up, and do that. But while they can do that, I'm pretty sure that if startups, if SMBs, they start up looking at themselves as somebody who can use technology to bridge that gap, they would be able to do that as well. And we have seen some very good examples of how some of the SMBs have done that. You look at deliveries. The deliveries have gone contactless now. You get a OTP. You punch in the OTP. The parcel gets delivered to your security guard or at the lobby of your building. You rethink how workouts happen. Most of us work out on Zoom now instead of going to gyms. So there is a whole lot different things which would happen for SMBs. Restaurants and five-star hotels have to relook the model in which they do. People will not be so comfortable in going and sitting in a crowded restaurant any longer. They prefer more of home delivery. So even five-star hotels or high-end fine dining places have to figure out a way of how do they cater to their customers by delivering food in a manner where
Right.
they enjoy it at home. So
Yeah. Karan Zedi, I'll come to you actually next. And I want to understand, you did talk about the difference between digitalization, also the importance of digital transformation. How pivotal will be the role of digital transformation in ensuring business continuity and building business resilience at a time when we have seen in COVID-19 pandemic, which has hit almost all countries, not just a particular geography, disrupting both supply and demand. So how will that help in transforming the traditional supply chains to, say, digital supply networks now?
Sakshi, yes, you brought out a very valid point that COVID has made a lot of difference and it has caused a lot of havoc. But I have a few things which I would like to bring out, the positivities coming out of COVID. See, the first thing is that during the time of crisis is when the new inventions, the new technologies come up. For example, world wars. You see world wars, and most of the new technologies which came up were during such crises. Secondly, what I would like to bring out here is the skill gaps which were there earlier. People used to undergo 2, 3 courses and they were still not able to understand things. Now, when the situation has come like this, I can see people learning things with no time at all. Just to give you an example, although not related to work, I had a very senior person when I was in army who used to be my boss. He was even averse to mobile phones. He was more comfortable with landline. But a few days back, I get a call from him saying, let's have a video call. So that is the difference which such situations have made. Plus, secondly, another thing which is very interesting is that time has got the importance now. People have started realizing the time in this scenario. A meeting is supposed to start at X time. It starts at X, it ends at Y. And that's a good thing that is happening. So now, coming back to what Daisy had pointed out, digital transformation, technology is no issue. Technology will be available. It is the culture, the people, which is more important. And now this situation is creating a scenario wherein people have realized, yes, this is a requirement. You have to undergo that. Now, earlier the discussions were more on how and why of transformation or the technology adoption. Now it is going to how, best, and when. So there is a positive silver lining to COVID as well if you look at from the different perspective.
Right. Daisy, I'll come to you next. We'll just take one more question before we jump into the Q&A session because a whole lot of audiences are sending in their questions. So we'll just take those also. Before that, Daisy, Cisco's popular collaboration tool, WebEx, has seen traffic surge since the COVID-19 outbreak. Security is another area that Cisco is focusing on right now, and security is a major concern right now with the surge of online presence of people. How do we deal with cybersecurity, privacy concerns in the absence of a data protection law right now?
It's a very interesting topic, Sakshi, and I think it needs a lot more deliberation because what COVID has done is people have embraced many technologies at scale, but I'm not sure the maturity of thinking through the security framework is still there in all businesses, right? And I'm not particularly focusing only on SMBs here. I think this is equally a concern. So industries have moved people and employees overnight to work from home. There is the perception that the attack surface is now every home that an employee is connecting from. Then there is this problem of the fact that the enterprise cannot control a home network, to the point someone made about the maturity of home networks, right? And that includes the way we look at cybersecurity in the confines of our home. And just being transparent, how many of us on this call itself would have really thought through what the breaches are into our homes as we deploy work from home, or as we work from home, our children work from home, etc. So that is definitely, I think, an education process. Even in the highest of enterprises, it is still an education process. I think we have to be cognizant that the attack surface is flattened, extended beyond the boundaries of the enterprise. We must anticipate also that as the threat surface moves, as the employee moves from home to home, from office to home, the threat surface of a hacker also moves from office to home. Right? That's very important to acknowledge and think about. And yes, security is a very specialized space. So unlike a lot of the other tools which are easily available from, collaboration as an example, right? Very easy to use and very easy to consume. Security can look a little bit more daunting than that. As Cisco, we have some very easy to consume cloud offers, which people can use, which is still on trial mode, try and buy mode, which can be downloaded to make sure that your devices are protected against attack. At least you will have an alert when that happens. You will be safe if someone is posing as a domain name or a website that is not safe for you to access, you will come to know about it. So,
Yeah.
security companies like ours are trying to make the offers very suitable to an individual consumer to understand and use, mainly for device protection at home, because that is, much of the backend infrastructure is taken care of by the service provider and enterprises. What we have to be cognizant of is really the personal devices we use, whether that's laptops, phones, iPads, and so on and so forth. And in that space, I think there is cloud accessible technology, very easy to use and consume, very easy to understand what it does. So I encourage people to also look in that direction as they're looking for what is the next best device to buy.
Right, right. Let's begin the Q&A session now. We're getting a whole lot of questions from our viewers. The first question is for you, Ashish. We've got this question from Ramesh Kelly. He wants to know that SMEs do not have competence to access tech requirements for digital transformation, nor huge resources. So who provides advice or consultancy and supply of hardware and software on deferred payment or use basis?
Very good question, Sakshi. In fact, when we were looking at this entire COVID situation, that's something which most of our customers came back with, and they said, "Hey, now work from home is the new normal, but what do we require to work from home?" So actually, we have put together a paper on our website, which tells our customers that, "Hey, what do you require to work from home? What kind of softwares you require, what kind of hardware you require, what kind of networking equipment you require, what kind of lighting should be there while taking video conferencing call, etiquettes of a video." So it's basically a teleworking guide or a remote working guide, which we have put together for our customers to go and have a look at that. What we have also started doing is we have started this new service called PC Pal. It's for people who are looking at buying hardware. It's one of its kind service where we are when people can call on the helpline and simply ask questions on what would be the suitable hardware for them to buy, and we give them advice, not for Lenovo as a brand, but overall what they should be looking in a laptop to buy. It's a totally unbiased thing what we are doing. We got a lot of people because of the fact that they already had assets, like SMBs had desktops with them in their offices, and with the work from home they had to buy laptops. Now obviously it's a cash flow problem, because suddenly your investments go up. So we have stepped up. We have device as a service is one option, but more than apart from that, also we have provided a lot of financial services to our customers. We have provided deferred rental services. We started rental business in India through one of our subsidiaries, Lenovo Financial Services. We have provided deferred payment options to customers. You pay less for 2 quarters, and then you start paying up as the COVID situation maybe returns to normal. So there are various options which are available, and to be honest, we would be more than happy for anyone to look at various options on how they can scale up their businesses and come out on the better side of this entire situation.
Absolutely. I hope that really answers your question, Mr. Gelly. You are free to approach Lenovo because they are here to help. I think the next question is also directed to you only, Ashish. So you stay on the screen. Naveen has asked this question. He wants to know, one of the biggest concerns of remote working is data security. So what precautions can you take to make sure all your data is protected?
I think Daisy mentioned this in the last question, in last question which she was answering. We have to be cautious while doing this thing. Most of our home networks are not having as much of security as maybe our office networks would have. So what we need to do is make sure that we don't get into some of the normal things like phishing and all that stuff, and just try and stick to what is known to us. At the same time, what we need to do is make sure that we are using the right software and hardware to make sure that our data is secure. As an example, there is something called, it's a bit geeky, but I'll mention it. There's something called as a trusted platform module on laptops. It provides basically hardware security. It lets you know that what you are, the website which you're approaching, the software which you're using is of the right thing, and you don't lose your data on that. There are a lot of other data softwares which are available, obviously from Cisco. There is Absolute, there is Sentinel, which you can use to protect your data. And it's very important to use all this and be aware of about the security framework which you have to follow while you are working from home.
Right. Absolutely. We'll take one more question from the audiences. The next question we should have up on our screen. Abhishek Mehrotra wants to know, how will the job losses be accounted for? Ramesh sir, could you answer that question for Abhishek Mehrotra?
Yeah, I mean, let me just get the question right. I mean, this is a tough one actually. How will the job
Yes.
losses be accounted for? Right? See, there is, I think, two ways to look at it. There will be job losses. I mean, there is no denying that. I think let's not, the part of saying 3-month assistance, 6-month assistance, compassion. I think all of them are playing out. They will play out, but eventually, I think this is much larger than just a 3-month kind of lockdown. Right? It's fundamentally disrupted the model. So I think clearly the job losses will be accounted for, in the sense that you will need people to reskill. Like one of the biggest thing that I think is coming out of this COVID thing, and a lot of people spoke about it, is reskilling, especially even in areas like SMB. A lot of speakers spoke about issues like what can SMB do. So simple things like re-engineering their process. We all used to hear about re-engineering processes only from a large corporate perspective. What about SMB? Things like HRMS digitization, payroll digitization, accounting, and these are all available as cloud package. You don't need to go to 10 different players. Some of these are available. The minute you get to that, and to Mr. Zaidi's point, the minute you do the digital transformation thought process, you will automatically start getting the groove of creating the jobs themselves. I mean, it's a cause and effect kind of situation. So I think we will have to closely be watching this space. I think the spirit of the Indian entrepreneurship will truly come to the forth now. I mean, can they adopt digital platforms which they have not been comfortable with earlier, but the situation has pushed today. I mean, and that's probably one of the best ways that we will be accounting for the job losses. But yes, I think, and again, the other interesting stuff is reskilling. A lot of reskilling platforms are also there. So even if you today look at it, the kind of learning, whether it's Coursera, the LinkedIn learnings, the upgrades, I think each one of them is offering plethora, and so many other platforms. They're offering so much of reskilling programs, right? And I think people will have to tune and really be aware of this and constantly look for saying, if they are into a situation where their job is it's going to get accounted for, they will have to transform and see which are the right skills that they can either do a forward integration or an adjunct skill that they can pick up and then quickly kind of repivot themselves. So I think it's a very critical aspect, I would say.
Absolutely. I hope that answers your question, Abhishek, because job losses are likely to happen in this tough time for businesses. What could, potential employees do is to reskill themselves so that they are employable in the post-COVID world as well, with the new kind of skill sets that you may have to have in the digital transformed businesses that we will see in not just larger businesses, but also smaller and medium businesses. We have our next question from Murlidhar. He wants to know, what about the cost of digital transformation to both the company and to the consumers? Colonel Zaidi, if you could answer that question.
Sure. So, as I had brought out earlier also, digital transformation does not necessarily mean bringing on all technology altogether, adding on new technologies altogether. It starts with various steps. So first step to digital transformation is to have the digital strategy in place. Of course, there will be an investment required, but the returns which are expected out of digital transformations have proved worldwide that they have gone to the tune of almost 10x to the investment which is there. So first step towards digital transformation, as I said earlier, is having the strategy in place and then start working on it step by step. And it is very much possible that you could start doing with the existing technology in place. New technologies would certainly be required, but there are certain processes which are required to be redefined. There are certain cultural changes which are required to be done. They have to be done as well. So one can start with that, and as it progresses, the investment on technology can be done, and returns will automatically be coming simultaneously.
Absolutely. I hope that answers your question, Murli. There, we'll take up another question from our audience members. We have a lot of questions. That's one from Sakshi, not from me, from one of the audience members. Wants to know how can business leaders address some of the common challenges of remote working and support remote employees? I'd request Mr. Kumar if you could take that question.
Well, as far as business leaders are concerned, there are three or four things that we are primarily doing. We are trying to ensure that we don't actually get into laptop fatigue, sitting in front of the laptop all the time. So you are actually creating mechanisms by which you can make life simpler for those people that are on the other side and the people that you are talking to. At the same time, let me share with all my friends here, productivity of all those people that have been working over the last 85, 90 days has grossly improved. And we did a small, dial-in survey of our members. And what we figured out was that productivity has gone up by nothing less than 90 to 100% more than what you initially used to do. So most business leaders are happy with the situation, not a problem at all. The other very important thing is, there are a lot of things like, when you have a child around or when you are looking after somebody in your family, you get those moments where you're not available or you may not be available all the time for meetings and stuff. So there are a lot of things that primarily business leaders are allowing for employees. There was a question earlier. I'd like to talk about that also. People talked about, cyber fraud. CERT-In, which is the certified agency for cybercrime in India, talks about in the last 60 days, cybercrime and frauds have gone up by 400%. Now that's the number two. So what do you need to do? Just ensure you have, not pirated software. You don't have apps which are consuming most of your space, which have backdoors in them. Very simply, at the same time, what you also need to do is, whenever you find there is a problem, please get it checked or check it yourself through tools available on CERT.in. It's CERT.in. The other very important thing that I'd like to talk about, business leaders today. Industry is I would say state subject. It's not a central subject. The central government cannot help the industry directly per se. What they have been doing is just looking at the banking and everything else. States have to build up ecosystems, and it is for business leaders at this point in time to decide which state is offering what. And so when you actually set up your factory, when you set up your office, please look out and figure out which state is the right state for you or your company or your business or your sector, because that is the thing that you need to do now. Because all the states in India, not everybody is behaving the same way with entrepreneurs, especially small and medium enterprises. So that is where, that's a big challenge going forward, whether you will continue to be in the place that you are or you want to move away from the place you are to some other place, which may be offering you much better connectivity, much better laws, much better things on the ground. Regarding laws also, let me share, employees don't have to be scared at all, because there are times when you get laid off in bad times, and there'll be times when you'll come back in, because the industry is going to come back again with a big bang. You all need to just wait for a little period of time for you to be able to figure out those companies which will need more people again. Downsizing is momentarily, it's not forever. Sorry, so I went
right. So no, that's a very valid point, and I'm sure that comforts a lot of nerves around the world who are actually facing a lot of job losses, even salary cuts at this point in time. Let's take up the next question. Vijay wants to know, once the COVID-19 vaccine is commercialized, do you see a rollback to old ways of working? Daisy, could you take up that question, please?
No, right? So I'll tell you why I think that way. I think it will be a blended world. And the reason I think that way is the new way of working works for everybody. Whether you're an employee, you have more flexibility, you have more time, you potentially have the ability to work from your hometown, not relocate. You have an access to a marketplace which is beyond the boundaries of your city or country. If you're an employer, same thing again, right? You are no longer limited. You have access to a diverse workforce, gig economy, gig workers, women who don't want to move beyond 5 kilometers of their home, operational expense reductions by real estate savings. In fact, 75% of CFOs interviewed in India have gone on record saying that they're going to look at work from home as a real estate strategy to reduce cost in this current environment till we tide over it over the next couple of years. You look at the economy, a flatter economy is good for every state government, right? To the point Mr. Kumar made, if I can retain a well-skilled, well-paid employee within my state boundaries, the trickle effect of a well-paid, well-skilled employee to my local economy is immeasurable. And it's great for the environment as well, because we have forced our cities to the point of breaking by bringing people into clusters of economic activity. So there's no loss in it for any of the stakeholders. So I think it's not going to roll back to the 100% work from home concept that we've all seen. SMBs are going to also, I would say SMBs are in the same sweet spot as employees. The export oriented mentality that Mr. Kumar mentioned. You get access to a marketplace, which is the world. If you're digital, you get access to a marketplace that is the world for your products and services. So if it's got a plus in it for everyone involved, I think the only question is the pace of change, especially in traditional countries like India with traditional work ethics. The pace of change is probably what is to be questioned, but the pace of change we are seeing in the last 80 to 90 days is quite phenomenal and quite shocking to a lot of us who've been advocating this change also. So I don't think it'll roll back to zero. It will settle somewhere in the middle, particularly because of the stakeholdership signing on, right? Which is all long-term benefit, which is beyond COVID-19.
Right. So we are not going to roll back to zero. Hope that answers your question. We just have time for one last question because we are almost timed out. Gurmeet wants to know, does Lenovo see itself emerging as a thought leader in the SME space? That is for you, Ashish.
Absolutely, Sakshi. We see ourselves as thought leaders in this space, and we are taking initiatives which are very customer centric, which are very customer oriented, irrespective of the fact that whether they are looking at buying Lenovo or not. I gave you a few of the examples on the PC Pal, which we spoke about, a service which advises people on what to buy, irrespective of the brand that they are looking at. We actually started this service during COVID times, and that where people can call our call center and take service on any laptop brand, irrespective of the fact that whether they had bought anything else as well. We are looking at financial services on how do we assist SMBs to tide over these tough times, which is there. And so there are various initiatives which we are looking at on how do we help SMBs recover from this as fast as possible. We are looking at how do we help SMBs deploy work from home faster by giving them laptops which are fully loaded so that it becomes a plug and play when it reaches their employees' home. So there are various initiatives which we are doing, and we firmly believe that Lenovo, we are doing as much as possible from our side to help SMBs tide over this.
Absolutely. So, okay, we'll wrap it up at this note. Many, many thanks to all of our panelists for taking out time to be with us today, for sharing all these wonderful insights on transitioning into the new normal. Well, technology is what has really kept us afloat in the 80 to 90 days of the lockdown, and even as we unlock ourselves, whether it is working from home or maybe staying in touch with our loved ones as well. And going forward, there is a need to adopt digital technologies to ensure business continuity. And even at the SMB level, that most of you have really talked about, innovation around contactless technology is also the way forward. And now it's actually time to also develop a new social culture of maintaining distance, wearing masks, and giving hygiene more importance than ever before, even in the times to come, whether it's not just months, but many, many years to come as well. I hope that all of you stay safe from coronavirus and we are able to tide over this current crisis and come out stronger from all of this. Many, many thanks for joining us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.